Well, let's talk threading for a minute. There are a couple of different ways to thread needles, and depending on the application that you're looking for. If you're using a very short length, for example, I'm just putting in a line of stitching here, a line of stitching here, so each piece is just going to be, maybe 6, 8 inches long, just enough to work with. If you're doing that, then really all you want to do is just tie these things off, because it gives you so much less aggravation if you don't have to worry about holding that tail end down and pinning it and make sure you don't lose the needle, because it could slip right off. So the way to do that is just thread it, bring your end up, the tail end, wrap it around once, and then pierce the thread as close to the middle as you can, and then just draw that thing down. And when you pull it off the end of the needle, you create a nice eye for yourself. Draw that tight with the other standing part, and then you're locked in there. That needle's not going to fall off if you happen to let it go while you're doing your job. The downside is then you got to either cut this piece off when you reach the end of your run, or pull your knot out of it. The other alternative is, especially when you're doing a long run, like if you have basically a good guide mark, is if you're pulling this thing tight and your arms are outstretched beyond the limit of what your natural arm span is, so 3 feet, 2.5 feet, 3 feet, it's a better option to thread that needle on both sides. Leave I'll get it done so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Make sure that these tail parts are equivalent in length, so draw those until they're equivalent, and then you can be sure that you're centered up, and then pull as much of that tail end as you need to shorten up the length of your thread. So now I'm only dealing with a 2-foot draw, and if I need more than that, I'll pull these tail ends. Now I'm only dealing with a 1-foot draw, and then you can just let out a little more as you go along, and you'll always have enough thread to work with, but it won't be unmanageable. Okay, let's start stitching a bit. The first goal is to hit the hole from both sides. The second goal is to not pierce your own thread as you pass through. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. If you're using a pricking iron, I don't use the all punch and stitch with 3 hands method. That's a little too complex for me. So one of the ways to go about this is penetrate through your top side, draw through all the way, pull this guy tight, and then you're creating space for yourself to get your needle through the back side. Come through, switch hands, and pull that whole shoot and match tight. That's one way to guarantee you're not going to pierce your own thread. It's not the recommended way. What I've seen most frequently is go till you hit your single point of thread right there, then bring your other side through, and then to make sure that you haven't pierced your own thread, because sometimes it's hard to feel, give this guy a little tug. If it pulls easily, it doesn't snag, then you've missed it and you're good to go. You can pull that through. Yet another way, and some people say that this is faster. I can't say for sure, but they'll pierce in a little bit with one needle. And I'll try and get this from the other side. And then you can, just to where your needle starts to taper down, draw back a little bit, pierce through the other side. Then you've got 2 needles in there at once. And if you cross them up a bit, then it gives you a good handhold to pull them through. And that can be a little bit faster. It's also not quite as easy to hit if you've got multiple layers and you're trying to get through that hole, the hole in the middle, the hole in the next level of the welt, and then the hole on the back side. This is a darn near impossible technique, but for just 2 layers, it's pretty straightforward and goes pretty easily. I hope I helped you out somehow, and if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to give me a call, send me a message. I'm pretty good about responding on most of the socials. YouTube, I am a little slower on. Couple hours because I only check it periodically when I think about it. I don't get notifications for it. But let me know if you have any better tips, man. Absolutely post them in the comments. I'm sure everybody would love to hear them. All right, man. Thanks. Have a good day.